Gen Con. Hi, welcome to another video from Moaideas. My name is Jay. I play board games from Asia and share what I find with all of you. Today we're going to talk about Gen Con 2023. Now today I wanted to try something a little different. I just want to have a nice chill afternoon with all of you and just talk about a couple of games from Asia that'll be heading your way to Gen Con. I'm going to try and leave this completely raw and unedited for the most part, and we'll just see where the mood takes us. Now, the number one question that I get above all else is how do I get games from Asia? And I made a video about how to buy board games from Japan. I'll put a link to that video. That should answer most of the questions that you have. If you have any further questions, please reach out to me and I'll do my best to help you out. Now, on to Gen Con. There are a lot of new games that always come out, and so with this, I just want to keep this list nice and chill. So first up on the list is Oink Games. Oink has been around for well over a decade now, and they've grown well beyond the borders of Japan. Sasaki-san, the owner, he used to develop and design games for Nintendo. So if you always felt that Oink Games feel like this analog version of Nintendo games, I think that's why. The two games that I think are really interesting for you to look out for is, number one is Tiger and Dragon. Now this came out a few years ago from ArcLight Games. ArcLight runs Game Market, so they're a huge company in Japan. And Oink will take over the international shipping for ArcLight Games for this particular game. Now Tiger and Dragon is a hand shedding game, a tile shedding game based off of a really old game, Goita, from Japan. Now in Tiger and Dragon, players will have like a hand of tiles with even and odd numbers, and like there's 1-1, there's 2-2s, there's 3-3s, 4-4s, and 8-8s. And there's also a tiger and a dragon, and the dragon is for all, I think, odd numbers, and tiger is for all even numbers. Now on your turn, you're going to play a tile from your hand, and let's say you play, I don't know, like a 4. And then the next player will, if they have a 4 in their hand, they can play a 4, saying that they react to that attack. And then they can play any other card from, or not tile from their hand. So let's say they play 3. And then the next player can either pass, or they can play 3 and then repeat that cycle. If everyone passes, then I get to burn a tile and place it face down. And that's worth points at the end of the game. And then you kind of do that wash, rinse, repeat. The idea is that the Tiger can block all evens, so it gives you a little bit of flexibility for defense, but really poor offense, and the Dragon is the same, but with odd numbers. This is a really interesting game. This came out a few years ago in Japan, and I do think that it's definitely worth playing. I think Scout was the big hand-shedding game from Japan a while ago, so now Tiger and Dragon is going to have its heyday, and I think people are going to be flocking to Oink to get it. Quick note though is that when this game first came out in Japan like 2 years ago in 2021, it sold out in like minutes. So if you're thinking about getting this game, I suggest you run to the booth, just like every other booth at Gen Con. The other game is a collaboration with Bruno Fedudi and Sasaki-san, and they made Whale to Look, which is right here on my shelf. In Whale to Look, you are controlling lots of little boats with all these people on the boats, and you're trying to position your boats on this water, trying to find out where one whale is going to be, and then like the killer whale, and then the orca, and you're trying to, or is it the other way around? I don't know anything about animals, and so you're trying to score the most points that way. But you have limited movement, so you're observing your opponents and seeing what they're looking at and then where they're moving to. This is a game that I think it plays best with the more the merrier. I play this with 2 and I didn't feel it. But cool note is that I made a complaint about this game because in my group, everyone checked the center waters first because they're connected center tiles first because they're connected to the most water, so that way it gives you the most information. And I said, when you play this game, typically you're going to look at those first, and so you get the most information. And so that's a little bit disheartening for me. And then Bruno Fedudi went on there and just smacked me down. He's like, "No, Jay, wrong." And that was humbling. It was really humbling. And I think he was right. I tried playing it, following his advice, and yeah, it changed up the game a little bit for me. And I do think it's a good game. I think it's one of the better games from Oink to come out in recent years. And I definitely think if it's there, you should run out and go check it out, especially if you're a big Oink fan, like I am. Coffee and tea. And just to know, I didn't realize that I sing, and I must be really annoying with all my friends. But like all my other friends in my game groups, they sing when they do random stuff. I found this out by editing all my playthrough videos, and Next up is Hobby Japan. They're at booth 175. They're a really big company, and I don't know what games they're going to have out there in Gen Con, but one thing that they released this year is R Echo Plus. Now, this is the 20th anniversary of a 20-year-old game from Kawasaki Factory, which is a long, long time ago, and this is R Echo Plus. R Echo Plus is 2 games where they take R Echo and then R Echo Recycle and put it into one box. I talked about this recently in my top 100 board games from Japan list, which I'll put a link over here. And this is actually one of a box set. There's R Echo Plus, there's Builder's High, and then there's Master of Rules, Master of Rules. And they redid all the art for it, and they put it into a nice little box set. And retrospectively, I think I probably should have gone for the box set instead of just this one game, even though this is probably the best game of that box set. Burp! We'll have to edit that out. But this is a really cool game, and I think if you're a nice collector, if you're a board game collector, this is something you definitely want to pay attention to, because this came out before the trick-taking craze took over Japan. So right now, like, everyone loves trick-taking games. There's trick-taking games coming out every year. I don't know, like 20 every single year. It's ridiculous. And before that, you had all these fun little quirky card games like R Echo. And R Echo is one that kind of stands out above the others. And this is definitely one that I think my wife really enjoys. She calls it the trash game because you play garbage trucks in there. But it's a really, really interesting hand management game. I talked about this a little bit more in my other video. Check that out. But I think this one is definitely worth playing and checking out. Hopefully they have a demo there. Up next is Broadway. Broadway comes from Hong Kong. They're at booth 2762. They have a really new game called Infiltrators. And this is traders like... Well, I was going to say Beipan, like in Chinese, because I'm just used to it. If someone doesn't understand my English, I translate to Chinese. But you don't speak Chinese, probably. Although statistically you probably do. But actually not. But anyway, Infiltrators, trader spelled like trader. Infiltrators is a really interesting card game, and it comes with this really cool like paper gun, which is really, really bizarre. Now, in Infiltrators, like, players are taking cards and placing them here, and then you have the stick of cards with different suits and different numbers, and you're playing cards next to this hidden card, and you have to guess everyone's like traders, and hopefully you can do that before the draw deck runs out. Otherwise, the game's over and you lose. Now, you play your cards a little bit differently. You play like horizontally or vertically, and it'll reveal different information, like it's of this suit or of this number, or it's not this suit and not this number. And you have to pick up this little paper gun and take a bullet, and then you shoot the trader, and hopefully you identify it correctly and you don't waste a bullet, and then you can knock that out and win the game. This has been getting a lot of buzz here in Taiwan, and I definitely want to check it out and see if I can locate a copy, because it looks really, really cool. The art looks really fantastic. And it reminds me of a little bit of The Crew, and because there are like 20 different missions in this game. Like, there are different ways for you to deduct things. I haven't played this game, but I think it's really, really interesting, and I think it's worth checking out. It's the bottom of the coffee cup, and there's like some nasty stuff in there, but I gotta do it. No regrets. I regret nothing. Up next is Moaideas, game design from Taiwan. Booth number 2958. They'll be in the indie booth section. Now, I'm not entirely sure what games that they'll be having there, but if they do have their games, they probably have Jiangnan, which is up there on my shelf, and it's one of their bigger box games. I definitely think it's one of the best games that they've ever released. And it's by Dugu Wei, and Dugu Wei, or Dugu Ge as they call him here, like Brother Dugu. He designed Yin Yang, which has been getting some good reviews overseas. But Jiangnan is really, really interesting. Imagine that you have your board and you split up into like 6 different areas, and it's worker placement. You send 3 workers to each of the areas. Then at the end of the round, all the workers in this area fall down and they get onto a boat. And then these workers on the boat, they don't go back to you. They stay on the boat. And then all the boats move over, and then you begin the round again. So you place your workers down, they trickle down into the boats, where there are even more workers, and then the boats move. And essentially, as the boat gets to the end goal, like as before it's going to leave the city, you have this nice little area control element there of like positioning of like who controls a boat. And there are tiebreakers, so you don't have to worry about that. But when the boat leaves, the winner of the area control for the boat determines what's going to score in the game. And it's just a really, really interesting system of, I mean, there's a normal like get resources, fulfill contracts. That's like typical in a lot of Euro games. But this is interesting because it has like this blend of like worker placements and then area control on the boats. And it's just really, really interesting. And it's a big game and it takes up a lot of space. And if you live in North America, you probably have the table size for it. But here in Asia, like we just no. I do because I'm a gamer. I specifically bought this table because it can extend and I can play games on it. Yeah, that's a thing. And it's probably, this I don't have a nice cool gamer table one day. But go to Moaideas and check out Jiangnan. I think it's one of the best games that they've ever designed. I'm a little bit biased though, so please take everything I say with a little salt bay, because I developed and designed the Taiwan map expansion for Mini Express. Now, Mini Express is a Cube Rails game that I really enjoy. It's not like the stock option games for a lot of other Cube Rail games. It's a little different. It doesn't have any money, for example. But I really like this game at 2, and there aren't many Cube Rail games that play well at 2, like hardly any at all. This plays really good at 2 and 3, and I think getting the base game, because when those expansion maps come, and I mean, I'm a little bit biased because I designed the Taiwan map and developed the UK map, but when those maps come out, I think this game will be huge because I love the expansion maps and I love playing the game on those expansion maps. I love them a lot more than the base game. And up next is Wonderful World Board Games. They'll be at 2859. I just did a review of their new game, Rubber, Paper, Scissors, and they have a slew of other games out there. And you can check out my previous video where I talked about this. But what's really interesting about this is that it feels like a thought experiment that expanded on to a full-fledged game. They took tic-tac-toe, they took paper, rock, scissors, put it together, layered a set collection above that, and then made a little game from that. This game is actually from Anthony Perroni. He's a French designer who now lives here in Taiwan. He designed Rubber, Paper, Scissors and Knock Knock Dungeon. Also Dive. I don't know if you remember Dive, but Dive is that one where you put all these transparent layers down and you have to look down and see and guess like how deep like that shark is or how deep that fish is. Really, really unique game. So this designer is, I'm really curious about his designs, and I really liked Rubber, Paper, Scissors. It's a nice little filler game. I don't think it's going to be like the main event for the night, but I think it's a really good filler for those game nights when you're looking to kill like maybe 10-15 minutes between the bigger, heavier meals, games. Why is it always about food? Yes, I bought this at IKEA. Yes, there's an IKEA in Taiwan. And actually, it's pronounced IKEA. At least that's what the Swedes told me. Now, up next is a little bit of a cheat. One of the best board games that have ever come out of Japan. It's on my top 100 list, but I haven't gotten that low yet, is Iki. I think Iki is one of the best games that ever come out of Japan, especially the 2015 Kickstarter edition that had the Ukiyo-e art style. I understand that old school art style is very divisive and not many people like it. The new art style from Sorry We Are French, they're at booth 2329, is I think a little bit more approachable with 2023, and they're releasing the expansion Akebono, which I don't think Iki really needed an expansion, but I think that it works. Now, I haven't played the expansion either, but reading upon it what they do, I think it does work. Now, a long time ago when the new version of Iki came out, I wrote a review on BGG and put it up to, hey, one day I played the old and the new, these are my thoughts, these are the differences. And while I do like the new math of the Sorry We Are French edition, I really don't like the art, because I feel like the art of the 2015 Kickstarter edition was kind of like the dude's rug. It just kind of like held the whole game together. I understand that the new art is a lot more approachable for 2023, and so a lot more people played it and they liked it, and I'm really happy about that. I also think that the Sorry We Are French version has slightly better math. They have more buildings, so there's a little bit more variety there. A few cards are a little cheaper, so they can advance a little bit faster. Akebono is probably one of my favorite kinds of expansions, and it's just more. Oh, you have character cards? Well, now you have more character cards. Oh, you have building cards? Well, now you have more building cards. And like, oh, you have more tobacco? Now you have more tobacco, and there are more kinds of fish. So it's just more. And they added a little twist with another bridge section that you can add to your walking, because it's a rondelle game, like giant rondelle that you're walking around in circles and circles and circles. And on there, you could reach like these famous celebrities or people famous from that time period and add them to your tableau. And they give you special powers or scoring abilities, things of that nature. So I think I'm really curious to try that. Now, I haven't bought the new version because I have the old version here. I think it's here, Behind Water Journey. There it is. Chaos, everything falling. Now, while I think Iki is a little bit divisive between people who like it and people who don't, I really do think it's a really clever game that has a lot of different layers to it, and I think that it's very rewarding if you play the game again and again, because you get to explore those layers and really appreciate the game for what it is. I just can't help myself. Like, I started off nice and chill, and then I just started going a mile a minute. One day I'll have this nice, calm, relaxing video. I ran into some other people at Tokyo Game Market, and they told me that, Jay, like, you are actually quite calm. Like, in your YouTube videos, you're really static and frantic. And I think it's because there's the real version of me, which is kind of like this, just kind of chill. But there's this YouTube version of me, which I think is a hyperbole of the excitement and passion that I have for board games. Just because I find that, if I talk to you like this, I don't know how well it will resonate and how many people will watch. But this is the real Jay.